Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming and watching this video. I am Kelly Winter, marriage and family therapist, and I'm also an optimizing coach. And I'm going to teach you today about the 3 surprising tricks that top motivational leaders use on themselves. It's my kind of goal and hope and wish for you that after learning these tricks, you're able to kind of break plateaus that you may have or start something new or just kind of go to the next level in whatever it is that you feel that's kind of pressing on you and been calling to you lately. So, a couple things, just a little bit of housekeeping. I hope that you guys can hear me okay and can adjust the volume. If you can't, I do kind of tend to talk loud, so hopefully I won't blow your ears out if you have headphones on. Disclaimer, I do like to pepper my speech sometimes with colorful words. So I try to stay away from the big bad ones, but I will try to be on my best behavior today. They add emphasis and color, and sometimes the situation of what we're talking about is appropriate. But anyway, I hope I don't offend anybody if I should say a curse word here or there. Also, you might want to grab a pen and pencil, or pen or pencil, sorry, and some paper to jot down some notes, because the tricks that I'm going to teach you kind of have processes to them, so you might want to take notes on that. And then also, one more thing before we get started, I want to let you guys know that this is actually the first video like this that I'm doing. So you guys are kind of on the inaugural video launch, and so I've decided to kind of optimize my time, and instead of telling each and every single one of you all of these things, I'm telling you all, and I only have to do it once. So the wonders of technology, right? So anyway, with that, let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to get started by getting centered. In my therapy sessions and in my coaching sessions, I like to do, I ring a gong. And there's kind of an ancient tradition of ringing a gong to kind of symbolize starting something and being kind of present in that moment to learn and whatnot. So that's what we're going to do. And it doesn't take long. It's not too scary if you haven't done anything like this before. It's pretty easy, actually. I'm going to actually ring the gong, but instead of the traditional gong sound, it's more like a chime sound, because it's small. It's not quite as big as the one in this picture. But when I ring and the chime sounds, I want you to breathe in through your nose. And I'm going to give you some prompts as to kind of where to put your mind to settle yourself in. And then as the sound kind of dissipates and fades away, and then in the intervening silence, I want you to breathe out. And so we're going to do this 3 times, and then I'll give you some prompts, and you just have to follow the prompts. Ready? Doesn't sound too bad, right? Okay, so let's go. Here we go. Ready? Here's the first one. Breathe in through your nose. And just let the outside world fade away. Perfect. Here we go. Center yourself here and now, not minding anything else that's going on. And last one, breathe in. And opening yourself up to learning and enjoying your time that we are spending together. All right. Anybody want to get out some wiggles or anything like that before we go ahead and hop right into the thick of things? Here we go. Okay, so let's talk about why you decided to even come over and watch this video. Something kind of tugged at you, and so you clicked on the buttons and you wound up here. So perhaps it was that you are just overwhelmed by the daily amounts of obligation that you find you have in your life. When I was getting my master's degree in therapy, I had a colleague of mine who worked at one of our crisis type centers. And she had said that she was amazed by the amount of upper middle class women that showed up in there because they were just overwhelmed with their life and they just couldn't take it anymore. So maybe that's where you are right now. Hopefully you're not at the point of going to a crisis center, because then that's a little bit more than coaching can do. But I totally know what it's like to be overwhelmed, especially in, when you're working and you've got families and obligations and community type things. So maybe that's where you are. Maybe you have something that you need to do, something, that higher calling, something that's tugging at you, but you don't even know how to get started actually doing it. You know that you have the desire and the wanting is there, but the actual doing, it just hasn't followed. Or maybe it has, and you've tried to affect massive change, but you just kind of keep getting stuck in the starting gate and you're not sure, you just can't get past those first kind of hurdles. And you know what? And then maybe that has led to you repeatedly saying that you've had these failures and they make you feel like maybe you just don't have what it takes. And maybe, you feel crap and you blame yourself, and, you're saying you down talk to yourself, which is a major problem. The conversations that we have with ourselves inside our heads, we would never talk to anybody else like that. So maybe that's what you've got going on. And you know what? Think about, what if you could do that thing that was tugging at you? What if you could actually do that? What would life be like? What if you could really make the change that you need to make in your life? What would your life be like if you were able to do that? Would it possibly, I'm clicking here. Okay. What would it look like? Would you be able to greet your day in the mornings full of energy and enthusiasm and be excited about your days? Would you maybe practice some long neglected self-care? Taking care of yourself tends to go by the wayside as we get added obligations with children and families and jobs and tons of stuff. And speaking of that, would you enjoy your family more? Would you enjoy the time with your family more? How about, would you start a business that is in the back of your head, and it's a dream of yours, it's in the dream stage? Maybe you would start your business, or maybe you have a business and you would expand your business and take it to that next level. How about this big one? How about if you could lose some weight because you could finally get out of that starting hurdle? Maybe if you didn't need to lose weight, maybe you could just get healthier. Or maybe you could tackle that house of yours and the office cubicle, or your office at work, and tackle the clutter in the organization, because that is what you surround yourself with, is reflective of what's going on inside of you. And there is a book, and the author escapes me. I cannot remember what her name is, but she wrote Smart Women Finish Rich. And in it, she said, show me the way your house looks, and I'll tell you the state of your finances. Oh, whoa, right? Because the way that we surround ourselves is reflective of what we've got going on inside of ourselves. So here's the bad news. You're never going to feel like you want to take those steps to make those changes. You may intellectually want to, and you may logically reason yourself into why you should, but you will never feel like you want to. Why? Because we're humans. We're humans, and we like what feels good, and we do not like what feels bad. However, I do have some good news for you, and that's why we're here today. You can successfully trick your brain, and I'm going to teach you 3 of those tricks. You can trick your brain into getting you into a state where you actually can take some action. All right, so let me give you this. Here's the real skinny. Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how I know what I know, who I am, and how I know what I know, and how I can even tell you guys about all this stuff. I'm going to tell you about those 3 tricks that you can use. And then I'm going to tell you about how you can use those 3 tricks to optimize your day. And I'm going to tell you, for those of you who want to kind of start implementing those 3 tricks and take them a step further into applying them into your life and optimizing the day that you have in front of you. That's an e-course that I just launched, or well, I am in the process of launching, and I'll tell you guys about that at the end of our little time together here. So this is me, and why should you care? Right? Why should you care that I'm giving you all this fabulous information? Well, I am a marriage and family therapist, and I see clients in a private practice setting. Before that, though, I was a life coach, and I've been doing coaching since like late 2009, really kind of jumping into it feet first in 2010. At first, I helped women in kind of transitional phases of their life to make the most of those, because when we are in those times of stress and change, our brains are primed to accept new changes, and you can slip in some really good changes into some topsy-turvy times in your life. And then I moved on for a little while, and I coached women on finding their passion and embracing their passions, both in the bedroom and out. That was a lot of fun. Now I am coaching still the same types of things, but I've really noticed that the thread that went through those different areas was optimizing opportunities. So that's what I am all about, and you're going to probably get sick of me saying that word, but that word is amazing because it actually means to make the highest and best use of a resource. And everything that we use, our time, our energy, our creativity, those are all resources that we have been given, and we need to make the best use of those. So yeah, so anyway, and I'm a fempreneur. I think that females in business are freaking awesome, and they rock hugely. And I am also a pop culture junkie, big time. So I make a lot of references to movies and songs and TV shows and different kind of fandoms. I love to watch TV at night, and I know there are some schools of thought that say that, well, that's, not really the best use of your time, but you know what? I crack the whip on myself during the day, and at night I like to kick back with the Starks and see what's going on in Westeros, and I like to go hunting with Sam and Dean in Supernatural, and I even like to watch zombies being killed and TWD, Walking Dead. But then I also like things like Downton Abbey, and yeah, so I'm kind of all over the map, but I get, all hung up on that kind of stuff because I think it's fabulous. So that's me, kind of in a nutshell. I'm also married, mother of 3, so I kind of know a little bit about what it's like to juggle working and having a family and trying to raise these human beings and future citizens of the world and do a good job doing it. So this is me now, but this wasn't always me. Back in 2008, which is like 7 years ago now, I actually was in a pretty uninspiring place. I had 3 children under the age of 10. My husband was self-employed and worked all the time. I hated my job. I worked in corporate America. I was behind a desk all day, sitting at a desk behind a computer all day, talking to clients that I had on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast, and just talking to them through a computer. Yeah, my creativity and my inspiration was just at a super nil low, almost non-existent. Pretty close to almost every day when I came home from work, I would throw a movie on for the kids, and I would lay down on the couch and I would nap because I was exhausted. I wasn't inspired in what I was doing. Of course, it wasn't a deep nap. It was a very light nap because I had to still pay attention to the kids. But yeah, not optimal, right? I was not spending my time with my children. I was physically there. My house was a mess, and I'm pretty OCD about organization, so this definitely was not optimal at all. And so I was really overwhelmed, and that led to having an underwhelming marriage. My husband and I love each other. We've been together for 11, almost 12 years. we were tired, we were uninspired, and we were just kind of going through the motions in our days, taking care of the kids and taking care of whatever popped up next. I was a emotional eater. I like to eat my feelings. And I really was. I was just moving through my days because I was exhausted. And like I said, I was uninspired. I'm kind of goofy. I like these little memes every once in a while. And during that time, I saw this one that I posted on this page on, I don't know, Facebook or something. And it was like really me. Why do they want dinner every single night, right? So that was me. Terrible. Let's throw that away. So this is the way that I describe it. I had bought a house and I had settled into the land of default because that's exactly what I was living. I was living a life by default and it freaking sucked. It was a very low point in my life. So I shattered it. I knew that I needed to make some changes in my life. If, I was watching my babies grow up and I knew that they were watching me and they were going to model what they saw. And so I knew that I needed to make some better choices. I needed to take care of myself better. I needed to nourish my soul, which often goes by the wayside. And I needed to be more present in my days and kind of take ownership of my days. Part of doing that was learning to prioritize my time. And I needed to get my house clean and organized because that's the foundation for where you spend your time. And you need to be in a place that is peaceful and inspiring for you. So how to even start? Well, that's what we're talking about today. I am a voracious reader. And so I did what I always do when I need some answers is I go to the experts and I read everything I can get my hands on. Also, while I was doing all of this kind of research, I was also going through the marriage and family therapy program, and I was learning all about the way the brain worked and what motivates the things that we do, why we do the things that we do. So I read self-help books and psychology textbooks, and I listened as much as I could to the big guns, these motivational leaders that I've gained this knowledge from. The Tony Robbins and Robin Sharma, Mel Robbins, and Brendan Burchard, who's totally awesome. Stephen Covey, Lisa Nichols was really cool. She's featured in the book The Secret. And I listened to countless mompreneurs and kind of looked at how they were doing things. I think I spelled that word incorrectly. I'm not sure. And like I said, during this time concurrently, I was getting my master's degree in marriage and family therapy. So this is kind of what I learned. So here we go. Are you guys ready? With your paper and your pencils? You ready to take some notes? All right, trick number 1 is called flipping. I use this with a huge majority of my clients. I find that I teach them this at some point in both my coaching clients and my therapy clients. So the basic idea is that every negative can be turned into a positive. So you can turn negative self-talk into positive self-talk. So let's look over here at the life cycle of a negative thought. And I could talk for a long time about this, but I'm going to kind of go through it a little more quickly than I normally would, just for the sake of time. See at the top where it says stimuli. Okay. We take in something through our 5 senses. Maybe it's something that was said to us. Maybe it was something that we saw or that we tasted or that we smelled. It could be anything. It could be something as benign as hubby coming home and saying, wow, this house is a mess. Okay, that's stimuli. All right. It could be we are walking in the mall and our daughter wants us to buy them something and we don't have the money. So that's an experience. That's a stimuli. So whatever it is that we intake through our 5 senses, in that last case it was hearing, is what we heard our daughter say. That produces a feeling. And that feeling inside us is either an ooh or it's an ah. That feeling then produces, we have a thought about that feeling because we analyze that feeling and we're thinking to ourselves, do we like this feeling or do we not? What do we want to do with it? And so we have a thought about that feeling, and it's a good thought or it's a bad thought, or sometimes it's a neutral thought. And that leads to our taking actions. So the life cycle of a negative thought is interrupted and things are changed when we take in the stimuli and we have a feeling, and then during that split-second analyzing process that we go through when we're forming a thought, that's where we can break the cycle. By changing that thought, we can change our action. The easiest way to do those two things is to flip the thoughts and then the actions, are to flip the qualifier words so that we're telling the truth. We like to say things in absolutes and extremes when we're talking to ourselves inside our head. We say always and never and very, very. So if instead of saying always, well, really, are you always tired? You're not always tired. Maybe you're tired a lot. Maybe you're tired more than you think you should be, but you're not always tired. When you use those extremes, those qualifier words, when you use those extremes, you don't give yourself an out. Okay, if you tell yourself you're always tired, well, you're not giving yourself any way to not feel that way, right? But if you tell yourself that you're sometimes tired, and maybe you're feeling tired right now, you give yourself an opportunity for any type of action to occur. Okay, and another thing we can flip is the adjective that we're using. So we can go from using a destructive type of adjective like fat or bad or yucky, just any kind of bad adjective that we use, bitchy, right, to a happy, purposeful, kind of feel-good description. So let's look at some examples of that. So on the top is an example of flipping the qualifier. So instead of saying, I'm always tired, like I said, you can flip it into a positive and say, you know what? I am sometimes tired. Okay, think about the difference in the two actions that will result from the negative and the positive in that scenario. So let's now look at flipping the adjective. So you can go from telling yourself and thinking to yourself, I'm not good enough, to thinking, you know what, I have a unique set of skills, because we do. Everyone is unique. Everybody has their own set of skills. Look, I am not the greatest cook. My husband will be the first one to tell you right after me. Okay, I'm not the greatest cook. I like to cook sometimes, but I'm not the greatest at it. But my husband is, so thank goodness for that. But you know what he says to me that I absolutely love? He says, you know what, babe, don't worry about it, because you have so many other things that you're fabulous at that I suck at, right? So if you look at it that way and you stop beating yourself up so much, think about what kind of action you could take based on what your thoughts are. All right, so here's the second trick. The second trick is simple. It's super simple and it's super quick, but it's really hard to do. But that doesn't mean that you cannot do it. It just means it takes a little bit of work. It's called the 5-second rule. So on this slide, I have a picture of Mel Robbins, who is super, super cool. In 2011, she gave a TEDx talk in San Francisco. And in that talk, she said, if you have an impulse that is pulling you and you don't marry it with an action within 5 seconds, you pull the emergency brake and you kill that idea. Dead. That is the way our brain works. Our brain works at a lightning fast speed, and we have a very short window in which to act on something that we're feeling. And if we don't, then the idea is dead and we will not do it. We will not do it in 15 minutes, right? We're not going to set the snooze for 15 minutes and get up in 15 minutes and feel like we want to go and work out when it's 32 degrees outside, okay? If you don't do it within 5 seconds of having that thought, then you're done, okay? So let's talk about why. The thing that you do at the end of that process is called the activating action, okay? Our makeup is a holistic makeup where our mind, our body, and our spirit works. And when they're all balanced, we are able to take those activating actions that we so desire to take. So our mind equals our thoughts, okay? And we talked about that earlier, remember? Our body equals a physical movement. So that's where Mel talked about marrying the thought and the physical movement together. And then when you marry those two, that produces a spirit or a different emotion. And when all three of those are in conjunction and they're in agreement, then you have that activating action that you can take. she uses an example of the alarm clock, which I mentioned just a bit ago. So let's say that your alarm clock goes off and immediately you're like, nope, not going to do it. You reach over and you hit the snooze, right? And you go back to sleep. Bam, done. And you sleep until the very last 30 seconds that you have to get up, right? I've been there. I know. I've done this before. What actually happened before you had that no thought, you had another thought, okay, that you said no to. And that thought was, get up and get out of bed and do what I told myself I was going to do last night before I went to bed. I said I was going to get up early and go and work out or go and walk the dog or whatever it is you said you were going to do. Okay, but when you get your arse out of bed and you go and you splash some water on your face, that is marrying a physical movement to that thought of doing what it was you said you wanted to do. And then before you know it, in like 2 to 3 minutes, you'll notice that your emotion is already better. You're already like, whoa, I feel a lot better than I did laying in that bed. That first 30 seconds to 2 minutes of getting out of bed are horrid. And then you feel so much better after that. And then you can take that activating action and do what it was you said you wanted to do. All right. We're moving on to number 3. This is the most important one. And I know I use the word foundation a lot, but this is kind of a foundation that makes, if you get this one, the other 2 are so much easier. So I'm going to take a drink and we're going to flip to the next slide, okay? All right. It is meditation. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. If you haven't done meditation before, it's not as bad as you think. You do not have to become a yogi and twist yourself into a pretzel and spend hours and hours a day in solitude and silence. The word yogi means master, and we're not masters, right? You're just starting out. Or maybe you do it a little bit, but you don't do it a lot, and you can implement it more into your life. Meditations are as easy as doing a guided meditation where all you have to do is listen. That's all you have to do is just listen. Remember in the beginning when I rang the gong, okay, and if you had never done that before, that was totally new to you, and maybe you freaked out a little bit, but you went through it, and it wasn't so bad, was it? It wasn't horrible, right? Well, guided meditations are along those same lines. You're just putting yourself in a place where you're taking some time for yourself. You're getting in touch with your inner being inside you, your soul and your spirit that nurtures you throughout the day, right? And someone is just kind of guiding you and making it easier for you to do. That's as easy as you can get as far as a meditation goes, if you're just kind of dipping your toe in the water. There are other types of manifestation types of meditations that you can do where you can kind of get yourself into a state where you start to concentrate on manifesting certain things in your life. Things like, pain reduction or abundance in your life or a great job, different things like that. There's not a whole lot of things that you even need to do meditation. You need some essentials that I listed here for you. You need a quiet space, okay? I used to meditate at like 10 in the morning, after I got the kids off to school, and I would come back home, and then I would choose to meditate at like 10 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursdays. And that is like when our gardener would come. So that was not ideal because I would always be interrupted and distracted. So you do need a quiet space. You need a comfortable position, either sitting on the floor on some pillows, or if you have a lot of time, you can lay in bed and meditate. And I say, to me, it's easier if you have some meditative music in the background. I think that when you marry, there's that word again, marry. When you marry music and you can even do some incense or light a candle and you engage many of your senses, it's so much easier for you. And you need about at least 5 minutes. It's nice if you can take a half an hour. It's nice if you can take 15 minutes. But you need at least a good, you can do it in as little as a couple breaths. But in order to get a nice meditation in, you need at least 5 minutes. I have about 10 minutes in between my clients, and I like to take at least 5 minutes to kind of say goodbye to the issues that I dealt with in the last session with my last client and kind of empty, erase the chalkboard, so to speak, so that I can get myself ready and be fully present for my next client. So let's take a look at let's take a look at this. I forgot about this little pop-up here. You have 1,440 minutes in your day. That's how many minutes are in every single day. 1,440 minutes. You can take 15 of those, right, for yourself, right? 15 minutes out of 1,440 minutes. You can take 15 minutes for yourself, I think. I think that's fair, right? Let's see what. Let's look at why. Well, Oprah says, let's do it. So we all know if Oprah says it, then it must be good, right? So Oprah agrees. Russell Brand he's been in the news lately for talking a lot about how he loves meditation. In fact, I think he does Kundalini meditation, which I really like. I do Kundalini yoga, which has meditation as part of it. And that's a little bit more, I don't want to say advanced, but it's a little bit more in depth, maybe, if you're a beginner, but it's super cool. And Russell Simmons says that it changed his life. The Marines do it. My brother is former Marine. Pro sports teams do it. All kinds of different pro sports teams do it. Let's look at why. What does it increase? Well, when you get your breathing and your oxygen flowing and you quiet your mind, your oxytocin starts flowing. And that oxytocin is a big word, but it's our hormone that generates connection and good feelings. It increases our connection with others. Physically, it increases our heart strength and the oxygen levels in our blood, which makes us think more clearly and have more self-control and positive emotions. We can regulate our emotions a lot better, and it improves our memory and our attention and our libido. I promise you. It does. What does it decrease? It decreases our chaotic mind. We can quiet our minds down and settle ourselves. And remember, we have that oxytocin flowing through us, right? So it decreases our loneliness because we're able to connect more easily with others. It's been scientifically proven for years that it decreases depression and anxiety, stress, and even physical pain. And it can render you less susceptible to illnesses. A lot of patients with major diseases like cancer meditate and they notice a big improvement in their symptomology. There's a big word for you, symptomology, right? So I have a monthly meditation guild that if you guys are interested, it's kind of not the focus of today, what we're talking about today. I just wanted to put it up there just in case any of you guys were interested. It's a subscription program. It's called the Monthly Meditation Guild. Every month I put together a different meditation with a different focus on it. And it's mailed out to you. It comes right to your email. It's $9.99 a month. If you're interested, you can go over and take a look at it. It's kellywintermft.com/products and just pick the Monthly Meditation Guild from that page. So that's that. When I implemented these 3 tricks, I was able to look at my days and I was able to say, you know what? All right. I'm in this state. Let's optimize my days. I only have so many days here on this earth, right? We all only have so many days that we're here on this earth. We need to make the most of the resources that we're given. And that is one of the resources that we're given is our time here. What do we want our time here to count for? What do we want to mean when we're gone? Oh, big questions, right? So what I was able to do, I found, was I was able to re-engage with my husband and my kids at such a deeper, more present level. I didn't have to nap on the couch anymore. I came home and I would do things with my kids and I would have them help me make dinner, or we would go for a walk, take the dog for a walk, things like that where I was actually present with them. I was able to get a handle on the seemingly never-ending chores in my house. I had 3 kids under 10. Now I have 3 kids under 17. There are still never-ending chores in my home, but I'm able to have a handle on it, and my home is a much nicer environment, a much more decluttered kind of slate to work from. And I was able to set priorities in my life and learned how to say no to some things without feeling guilty, which is major for women. We feel like we have to do it all. But there comes a time when you know what? You need to put yourself and your family first. Especially in my meditation time, I was able to really just rediscover how freaking awesome I am. And seriously, every single one of us is like this. Every single one of us has our own special awesomeness. And it's all about finding that and going, yeah, you know what? I am freaking awesome. I'm a pretty big deal, right? How would you feel? How much would your days change if you had that kind of attitude? And it was that kind of attitude that prompted my husband to say, babe, you really have a gift you need to share with the world. You need to go back to school. You need to get your master's, finish what you started so long ago, get your master's, and get out there and help people. And so I was able to fulfill my lifelong career goal, which was being a coach and being a therapist, which I absolutely love. And again, here's another meme. I love Wonder Woman. Growing up, I always watched Wonder Woman. I know I'm dating myself, but she's pretty freaking awesome. I like this meme because it says you can just call me Wonder Woman. There's nothing I can't do. Because she doesn't say Superwoman, you can just call me Superwoman because I can do everything. There's nothing that I can't do. There are some things I choose not to do because I have prioritized my life in order to optimize my time here. So I seriously, the first day I meditated, I felt better. So I felt better in just one day. I was able to increase my family enjoyment within a week. We have this game that I started, and I kind of took some inspiration from others, and I kind of put together this game. It's called Tell Me, Tell Me, Tell Me. It's a bunch of conversation starters, and you put them on paper, and you cut them up, and you put them in a jar, and everybody pulls one out in the family, and we all ask it, and we all answer it, and that's how we have dinner. I started it, and I made us all sit around the table at dinner time, which was different for us because we were here and there and everywhere. But we sat down at dinner and we did this game at dinner time. And like about a week later, it was my middle daughter's birthday. She totally floored me. And I'm going to try not to get emotional when I'm talking about this. But I said, babe, what do you want to do for your birthday? And she says, where do you want to go? Olive Garden or, where do you want to go? She said, you know what? I want you to make dinner and I want to play the game. And I was amazed that that's what she chose to do. And then I kindly went, it was finally one of those moments where, the V8 commercial where you hit yourself on the head and go, I could have had a V8. Well, it was like that. I could have been doing this whole damn time. And I wasn't. How much time did I waste? But you know what? That's all right because I'm going to move forward and we're going to do it now. My home was completely cleaned within a month. I mean, like spring cleaned. And I did not spend all day cleaning my house either because I felt the desire to want to give myself and my family that kind of clean space. So what if you could do things like that? What if you could wake up in the morning with a smile on your face before you even got out of bed? What if you could start your day according to your agenda and your needs and not someone else's? What if you could learn to say no without feeling guilty or practice daily self-care without the guilt trip that follows? How about if you looked at the week ahead of you with enthusiasm instead of dread and anxiety? What if you could take care of your house, your kids, your partner, your work, and you still had plenty of time to spare in your day? Wow, what would that be like? What if bedtime became a ritual and a pleasant wind down to your day instead of something you just kind of fell into bed with? Well, that's why I designed the Optimize Your Day e-course. It's a 5-week video course, and we go over different areas of your life that you can optimize. and different things that you can introduce into your life in order to make them better. So I'm going to briefly tell you about the ways that it works and kind of what each week is about. And then if you want to work with me on this, you'll have the opportunity to do so in a couple minutes. So let's go over what I cover in this e-course. Week 1, we kind of do a big overview of what's coming up in the coming weeks. And each step builds on what you learned the week before. So that's why it's critical to take steps in order. We go over that. And then I have some more tricks that I've used other than the 3 that I did today. I just didn't want to overwhelm you and didn't have a ton of time. So I have some more tricks that I use to have the motivation to start to take the action in my life that I needed to take and that you can take to have the action in your life that you needed to take. So that's week 1. Week 2, we go over self-care. This is my most favorite week. And the reason we do it first is because taking care of yourself is the foundation for everything else that you do. I'm going to show you the 5 best things that you must do every day to start and end your days. Each day I start actually with 8 essential practices and each day with 5 essential practices. And we're going to go over those and we're going to talk about what they are, how to do them, and why it's so essential for you to do them. Week 3, we're going to talk about mindfulness, about being present in your moment. And we're going to do that through self-reflection exercises that aren't long and boring. They're actually kind of interesting. They kind of make you go, remember Arsenio Hall with the things that make you say, Remember that? They're kind of like that too. Things that make you say, and go, wow, let me think about that. It helps, and doing that helps you gain important information about how you're living your days so that you can be more present and alert in them and set the stage for your personal growth. And having that leads you into week 4, which is coming up with daily strategies to do before you ever even leave the house, before you get to work and everybody else's agenda becomes your agenda. It helps you to get more done and serve your needs instead of everyone else's needs first and your needs last. And it really helps you to take ownership of how you spend your time. Set priorities so that you can look forward to your day. And when you do that, you kind of implement this optimizing mindset, and it clues you into more opportunities for you to write your own story instead of just being a character in somebody else is writing for your life. This week is really cool. There's a lot of information in this week, but it's pretty cool the way it all comes together. And the last week is about organizing our personal space. Because you went through all of the weeks prior, you're actually going to be at a place where this isn't so horrible. In this last week, you'll be at a place where you're like, okay, I get it. I understand. I got you now. So you're going to be able to organically create enthusiasm for your life by creating a chaos-free environment for yourself and your family. You'll improve the day-to-day clutter that develops in your house, tackle it efficiently, regularly, and realize that it does not take all of your time. Because it doesn't take all of your time and because you have that clean space, it allows you to be more creative and re-engage with those you love. You're not throwing things in the closet before your company comes over and then worrying the whole time that they're over. In the back of your mind, you're worrying and hoping, oh my God, I hope they don't want to play a game because then I have to go in the game closet, which is where I threw everything. So you will be present with them because you won't be having to worry about that kind of stuff. So here's a little more of a breakdown about what you get. Let me take a drink real quick while you guys look this over because there's a lot of information. Okay, so this is what you get. You're going to get every week, you're going to get a new video. So that's over 5 weeks, that's 5 hours with me. In those 5 hours, I actually am able to do more than I'm able to do in a one-on-one session because I'm the only one doing the talking. So you get all of my information, an hour's worth of information from me. So you're getting more than what you would just get in one coaching session with me, which is pretty amazing because I'm able to talk for a long time. I've got lots to talk about, but I was able to kind of condense it down into that 5 hours for you. You're also going to get a guided meditation to help you. It's an audio recording. It's going to help you. It's one to play in the morning to help you kind of set the stage for your day. You're going to get 4 of my systems that I use. The AM and PM club system. These are printables of the 5 things that you need to do to start and end your day. You'll get one for the morning, one for the night. And we're going to, as I said, we'll go through all that in week 1. And then you get the self-reflection mindfulness questions for you. And I have them in a binder that I use. And I'll go over all that kind of stuff with you. But it's a whole binder of the reflection questions. And it's kind of a journal too. It's kind of both for that one. And you can use this kind of in your self-care time. Your daily strategy system. This one is the big one. It's got daily planning printables in there. It's got project planning printables, your weekly stuff, your monthly stuff, your year at a glance. So it's all in one spot. So you're going to get all those printables that you can print out and put together. Again, I do it in a binder, and I'll show you guys what I use. I put it all in a binder and print them out on the computer because I just like having a lot of room to write. And then lastly, you're going to get my home management system, which is pretty big too. You're going to get all of your daily and weekly jobs and your monthly jobs that you need to do around the house to keep down the clutter and the dust and, and keep the place clean too. And you're also going to get my spring cleaning game, which is it's actually not too bad. I don't know if I want to say it's fun. It's as fun as you make it. I like to turn the music on full blast and really go for it with my whole family. And so it is kind of fun. And then we go out afterwards and do something fun. So it's kind of worth it. And I teach you guys about that kind of stuff too. It's all the family engagement type stuff. So that actually is pretty cool. And I mean, that cleans your house from top to bottom. And you can do it all in one weekend if you want to, or you can spread it out over a 3-month period and just rotate every 3 months, or there's a couple different options there. So you got a lot of different ways that you can do that. So that's what you get in the e-course. That's all of the recordings and all of the tools that you'll need to help kind of spur you through those 5 weeks. So I wanted to talk to you about this analogy of a flight attendant. And why does she instruct parents to, oh, look, I'm British. I put 2 L's in traveling. When you're traveling with a child or someone who requires assistance, you're supposed to put your oxygen mask on yourself first, and then you can assist the other person. So why do they say this? Because everybody naturally wants to put it on the kid first, right? Because the kid, their bodies are smaller. They need more. We want to save them. We will give up our lives for them, right? That's what we do all the time. We're always sacrificing for others, right? That's what we do. But the thing is that if you don't put the mask on yourself first and you pass out, you both die. The child is not going to be able to put that mask on unless you're able to help put the mask on. And the only way you can do that is by putting the mask on yourself first. And that is what we miss so often because we're so used to sacrificing of ourselves in order for everybody else. So let's talk about something fun now. Let's talk about launch day. Launch day for the e-course, for the 5-week e-course, the day that the first video is going to come out is this Friday. The first video is going to be posted at 7 p.m. Pacific time, which I know is kind of late for you guys on the East Coast, but the idea of posting it Friday night is so that you can have it to go over on the weekend and then start implementing it during the week. Because I don't want to give it to you guys Monday morning. Mondays are super, super hectic. And that's not the optimal time for you to be able to kind of go through all this stuff. So every Friday, the videos are gonna come out at the same time. And with the videos, you're also gonna get all the downloadable worksheets and forms and lists and keepsakes and things that you can print out to kind of cement the work that you're gonna learn in the videos. If you go through the course and you don't feel like you made any improvement at all, I do have a money back guarantee. But you will need to complete the course and request a refund within 30 days. I have never actually had anybody request money back, knock on wood, but I do offer it just in case. I want to make you guys feel that, I'm here to partner with you. I'm not, I say the word teach but really what I do is coaching, which means that I partner alongside with you. Because it's for your benefit, right? If you don't benefit, I don't benefit, right? The teachers are only as good as her students. So I am going to give you the price, but I want you to realize what it is that you're paying for first. I think it's really important that people actually are able to understand that when someone puts an e-course together, and this was a labor of love, I tell you, there's so much more that goes into it. When you make a monetary investment into something, say it's a car or it's a college that you go to, by making a monetary investment, you naturally have what's called an obligation to participate. So your money is on the line, you're invested, right? So you're more apt to take more part in everything than someone who, let's say, got a full ride scholarship to college. And also, here's the deal. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Okay, this information is out there. I mean, I got it from the masters and from the pioneers in the psychology field and in the living field. And through my own experiences in my own life. So I've kind of gathered all this research for you and I put it in one place. So the hours and hours of work that I've done, it's already done for you. So I put it all in one spot so you can come to one place and conveniently get the information that you need in a nice package that you can actually use. And here's the thing. Everybody has that teacher. If you think back to when you were in school, maybe it was high school or elementary school, you had a favorite teacher who you just clicked with. Their format and their style and their energy, it just suited you. And you may have had 4 history teachers in your 4 years in high school, but you had that one history teacher who didn't just stand up there and recite stuff to you. They actually had you do projects. They acted out a play, or they had you stand up and give a speech as a president. They engaged you more and you connected with them, and so you learned more. That's what you're paying for, is that experience. Because you know what? I could have written a book and put it on a shelf for somebody to maybe stumble upon when they're in a huge Barnes and Noble. But you don't have that one-on-one with me where you can hear my voice and the inflection and just the style that I have. That's part of what you're paying for too, is that experience, because you're going to learn from someone you connect with. And that's who I kind of put out there that I want to work with, is that ideal person that clicks with me and that I am beneficial for. So whether you invest in this program or not, it's my desire that you find someone who you can connect with and who connects with you so that you have the ability to fly, because that's what we all want, is we want to see you succeed. Another thing too is this information is yours to keep. It's just like I mentioned, like buying a book. If you buy a book and you like it, you're going to loan it to a friend, okay? And you're going to say, here, read this book. This information is awesome. I learned this from Brendan Burchard. He kind of likens it to, I think he said it's like a Newsweek or weekly magazine mindset, where you buy the magazine, you like the information, and it's yours to disseminate to those that you think would benefit. So if you want to share something that, you know, I'm teaching you, or you want to share one of the PDFs, however your heart is leading you, If it's going to be of the highest and best use to somebody else, I say go for it. I do ask that you leave my name on anything that you print out, and just give me the credit when you're sharing. Give me credit where credit is due. That's all. So here we go. What is the investment in your future? All right, there's a one-time payment of $7.99. But I am having a pre-launch special right now. This special goes until the day before I launch the program. So it goes until midnight on May 7th, Pacific time. I did not actually write that on this slide, but it is Pacific time. So you East Coasters have a couple extra hours to get it in there. So anyway, you can take $200 off. And so the price for everything is going to be $599. That's the price for the 5 hours that you get with me, for the guided meditation, for each of the 4 systems that I give you, and all of the extra PDFs and printouts and deliverables, all those keepsakes type things that go along with the program. So all of that is included in the price of $599. After midnight on May the 7th, the price is going to go back up to $799. It doesn't mean that you cannot enroll in the course anymore. You'll still be able to enroll in the course. Whenever you enroll, you'll just start at week 1, no matter what week we happen to be on, because it'll just start when you start. As far as a pre-launch special goes, if you want the special $200 off price of $599, you have to get it in by midnight May the 7th, or else, watch, just like this little birdie, it's going to fly away. And I have another little special something for you guys. For those of you who sign up within the next hour after clicking off of this webinar / video, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to give you that tell me game that I was talking to you about earlier that my daughter wanted to do at dinner. I'm going to go ahead and give that to you. It's going to help you to actually be able to talk to each other and get your kids to say more than, how was your day, honey? And fine. And how are you, babe? How's everything going? Oh, okay. It's going to give you guys a space to enjoy your family, so that you're all fully present there with you. So that's a nice little bonus that I wanted to give, because that was really fun. I wanted to incorporate that into the course somehow, but I couldn't quite get it to fit. But I wanted to give it to you. And so I thought, well, this would be a great way to give it to you as a bonus for those of you who sign up within the next hour. So here's how you do that. Right down below on this page, you're going to see a button that looks like this Purchase Now button. It's not this button that's on the PowerPoint, but it looks just like this, and it's down below. All you have to do is click on that as soon as you get registered, and we'll get you all signed up. And then this Friday, you'll get your first email with the link to the first video in the Optimize Your Day 5-week e-course. I'm so excited to give this to you guys. I worked really long on this, like really long, because I kind of agonized over the details, but I did. It was a labor of love, and I wanted to do it for you guys. So I hope that it helps you to fly. And I wanted to leave you with a quote. This is kind of more than a quote. It's kind of a mantra that I go by. It's actually written on my mirror, on my bathroom mirror. It says, "A year from now, will you wish you had started today?" Think about that, because a year from now is going to come. If you're 33, you're going to be 34. Okay? Are you going to be 34 in the same state that you are right now? Or are you going to be 34 a year into your new business? Are you going to be 34 with a better marriage and better family, happier kids? Think about what your life is, what you want your life to be like a year from now. Do you want to wind up saying that you wished you had started today? All right. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap this little baby up. I wanted to leave you with my name again, in case you, because I know I gave you so much information, but I'm Kelly Winter. I'm an MFT, and I'm an optimizing coach, and I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and that you learned something here today that you can implement into your life. Thank you guys so much for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. Go out and just rock your world.